Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hello, I am Nurazafa Aina binti Muhammad Kamar Arifin from Group 9. I want to talk about the unique characteristic of pteridophyte.
Before that, we should know what are pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are plants that do not have any flower or seed. Hence, another name for it is cryptogams. Now, let's move to the unique characteristic of pteridophyte.
The first unique characteristic of pteridophyte is it is a seedless plant. All members of cryptogams do not produce seeds, but they are reproduced sexually via spores.
The other unique characteristic is it has simple vascular tissues that function for transport water and nutrient or minerals and also provide mechanical support because it has phloem and xylem. But since it is just have simple vascular tissues, the vascular tissues is not well developed and have non-complex vascular system.
The next unique characteristic of pteridophyte is the life cycle of pteridophyte shows alternation of generation. Alternation of generation is a type of life cycle found in plant in which subsequent generation of individual alternate between haploid and diploid organism. This is one of the example of pteridophyte. Over here, it is Bryopteris species. There are three different parts of pteridophyte plant. The first one is the dominant generation. It is called sporophyte because it large in size and long-lived. This section also classified as matured sporophyte. This section is not dependent on gametophyte for nutrition because it can carry out photosynthesis. As all of us can see, it is green plant, so of course it can doing their own photosynthesis.
The second part is called gametophyte. Gametophyte is small in size and free-living. Fern gametophyte or protellus are tiny structures that often grow on or just below the soil surface. Next is third part is young sporophyte. This young sporophyte dependent on gametophyte for nutrition because the embryonic sporophyte develop within the archegonium and nourished by the gametophyte. In the picture provided, we can see the number 1 is young sporophyte connected with the number 2 which is gametophyte. To understand better on this topic, let's see a video about characteristic and reproduction in pteridophyte prepared by Learn in 200 Second channel that available on YouTube.
Pteridophytes are grown on flowering land plants. It is so because they have developed root system which make them capable of absorbing nutrients from soil. They have leaf which help them prepare their own food. And they have vascular system which help them transport nutrients and food. Pteridophytes are seedless plants and thus are also called cryptogams. Similar to bryophytes, pteridophytes also have alternation of generation. But here, sporophytic phase is dominant, meaning most part of pteridophyte live in sporophytic phase. In sporophytic phase, plant grows root, stem, and leaf. Spores are produced in sporangium and leaf having sporangium is called sporophyll. Generally sporophyte produce very small size spores, also called microspore, or same-sized big spores, also called macrospore. Because of same size, these spores are also called homospores. But there are some sporophytes which produced different sized spores. These spores include both microspore and macrospore. Because of different size, these spores are also called heterospores. Spores give rise to gametophyte. Gametophytic phase lasts for very short period of time. After maturing, gametophyte produces multicellular sex organs, antheridium which produces antherozoid, and archegonium which contains an egg. Male gamete reach to female gamete through wind. As male and female gamete fuse together, zygote is formed which develops into a sporophyte. In this process, gametophyte completely disappears, and sporophyte develops into root, leaf, and stem. Sporophyte matures and produces spores, and this cycle of reproduction goes on.
Number 4, the vascular tissue have two distinct organ systems, which is a shoot system and a root system. Due to this presence of organ system in vascular tissues, sporophyte has true root, stem, and leaf. This also affects sporophyte to has adventitious roots and waterproof cuticle.
The last unique characteristic of pteridophyte is their reproduction. First one, fertilization is fully dependent on watery medium because the flagellated sperm cell must swim through the film of water to reach the egg cell. Second one, pteridophyte reproduce sexually by producing spores for dispersion. Based on the production of spores, there are two types of pteridophyte spores. First one is homospores and second one is heterospore. The first one is homospores. Homospores has one type of sporangium that produce one type of spores. Example, Lycopodium species. The second one is heterosporous, has two types of sporogens that produce two types of spores. It is microspores and megaspores. Microspores will produce sperm cell and megaspores will produce egg cell.
In conclusion, it can be said that we have learned about the different unique characteristics of pteridophyte.
Okay, now let's recall all those 5 unique characteristics that we have learned. Number 1, seedless plant. Number 2, have simple vascular tissues. Number 3, alternation of generation of life cycle. And number 4, have true root, stem, and leaf. And number 5, reproduction, which is fertilization and producing spores. I hope all the audience gain new knowledge and increase their knowledge about pteridophyte plants. That's all from me. Thank you.